So the next step to this is we want to style these. This looks good, but it doesn't look as neat as I think it could. So again, we're going to resort to our trusty HTML and CSS and the Chrome inspector to help us out here. So the first thing that I would like to do is center this image. So let me right click and do the inspect element. Now there's a couple things that I want to think about here. I don't necessarily want to apply this style to every single image across the entire website. I just want to do it to this image within the text widget. So I look for that specific HTML code. So as I hover here, I see that there's this div here with the class text widget. And the other thing that I think about is what pages are this going to be on? Because you could target each page in WordPress by going up to the body section here. So since this is the home page, you'll see that it has a class home. If it's one of the inner pages, it'll have a class such as page-id- and then a number, and there's a different number for every page. So you could target specific pages for specific styles. So for this one, I'm targeting the home page, and then I'm going to target the text widget area, and then I'm going to target images within that. So now that I have that in mind, one thing we could do is test out what we're going to do CSS-wise within this element.style. And this only styles this one particular element that we're looking at. So it's not going to actually apply to everything that we're going to do, but it'll give us a test. So we want to center this house image that we're looking at on the leftmost widget. So the way to do that is with the margin. The way that you center images, you do margin, and then you have to put a colon. As you'll see, this will automatically generate that colon. And then you do 0 space auto. And that auto margin is what is going to center the photo because it auto generates the margin on the left and the right of the photo. And then you end the CSS statement with a semicolon. Now, you'll notice nothing happened there. The reason why is because we have to change the way this image is displayed. So we click, we do a new one, we display, and the way that you get this margin to activate is you have to do display block. And the other cool thing about this Chrome inspector is that it'll automatically give you the options for display once you type that in. So you can either type it in, or I'll just go up here and select block. And once I hit enter, you'll notice the house centers. So these are the only two styles we need to do. Now you don't necessarily have to do this test within the Chrome inspector. You can actually just make the edits right in WordPress if you know what you're doing. But I like to do this. This is an easy way to test without actually saving the file and making changes that might look crappy. So you can kind of really test out things within the Chrome inspector. But what we're going to do, as I said, we're going to target the home page and this text widget. So I'm actually just going to copy this, so I don't have to worry about typing that out. I'm going to go back here. We're going to go into the theme options section, right into the custom CSS styles. Okay. Now, as I said, we're going to target the home page. That was a class. The way that you call a class in CSS is a dot. So you do dot home. Then I do space. And within that home page, I'm targeting the text widget, which is also a class. So I'm going to do dot, and then I'm going to paste what I just copied. And then within the text widget, I'm targeting the image. So I do that. Then the CSS statements have to be applied within 2 curly brackets. So I'm going to do the curly brackets, which are right next to the P on the keyboard. And you put your statements within there. So I'm going to do exactly what we just typed out before. The margin, colon, 0, auto, semicolon, and then display, colon, block, semicolon. And then I add a space in there just so it's a little bit easier to read. And that should be all we need in order to to center the images. So let me exit out of there. reload the page here, and there you go. All our images are centered. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for the heading text as well. This text here, I want to center it because it looks a little funky, I think, with this off to the left and this centered. So we're going to go ahead and center everything within the widget. So we're going to go back into the CSS section here, and in order to center the text, it's pretty similar to the image, but we have to use a different CSS property. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy that entire line of text, and instead of targeting the IMG, the image HTML tag, we want to erase that, and we want to target the entire text widget. And the way the text is centered, we don't use this margin and display. Instead, there's actually a CSS property called text align. And all we got to do is text align colon center semicolon to end that statement, and that's it. So if we save the options there and go back to the page and refresh, we should have fully centered text in the widgets, and that's exactly what we have. So now we have all the text here centered, every widget centered. The other thing I want to change is these icons are just a little bit big. I want to make them a little bit smaller. So we are going to go back to the CSS, and you can adjust the width from CSS as long as you're targeting the HTML image tag. So we are going to set the width to 100 pixels. I think this image is a little bit more than 100 pixels, so we'll set it to 100 pixels. And if you only set the width, the height will automatically adjust based on the width that you set. So I'll save that. We'll go back here, I'll refresh the page, and you'll see the icons are just a little bit smaller, just a little bit neater. Now the other thing is, you can set the height. If you do set the height, you'll notice how the image kind of gets squished if you set it to something that isn't proportional. So I'll set it to 20 pixels, and you'll see how that looks. So you also can set the height if you want in the CSS. If you want to set it to 100, you could do that, but it's not completely necessary. As I said, the width is all that's necessary, and the height will automatically adjust if that's not there.